News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Okay. I can't wait to get into this Will Ferrell transgender Netflix special. I'm not kidding you. It's real, and I watched it. I didn't want to, but I was doing the budget, the weekly budget, and labeling stuff every week like I do next to my wife, and she wanted to watch it. And I watched it, and I'll get into it in one split second, but I did promise to share why Jocelyn Nungare, the beautiful 12-year-old who was raped and murdered in Houston from Trinidad Agua members now, according to the investigations and the reports from KPRC Houston, they believe they are Trinidad Agua, and they're investigating them for that because one of their TikTok bios shows emojis that show a ninja, cross-sword, and a classical building, which investigators wrote in the warrant. TDA will use certain slang and emojis in their communications with one another to identify themselves. On a post in that same account, there's a message written in Spanish, which investigators described as a call to members inside and outside of the country. That the message involved TDA gang membership. Separately, a video shows one of the two Biden-Kamala illegals that raped and killed Jocelyn, according to charges and their arrest warrants. It shows one of the illegals traveling to the U.S. on what appears to be an illegal migrant train. Posted in early May, he was apprehended and the Border Patrol by May 28th in El Paso, and Kamala said, come in and rape that little girl and kill her and leave her body in a culvert, where somebody would see her the next morning looking like a mannequin until they found it was a girl. Another account shows him with 2 star tattoos on his shoulders along with a rose tattoo on his hand, which also is associated with TDA. So there you go. Okay, let's get into this special, this transgender special on Netflix with Will Ferrell and his buddy who was like a head writer for Saturday Night Live for years when Will was there. I want to tell you the truth. I watched it and while doing the budget, so I wasn't staring at it. But there were parts that were heartwarming and cute, not because of the transgender story, but because, look, Will Ferrell, can he make a documentary type movie that's cute and folks see where they drive around the country to small towns and show up and, oh my gosh, it's Will Ferrell at a dive bar in Oklahoma where, they've got Trump signs and Confederate flags on the wall? Yeah. It can be fun, cute, and interesting, especially if he's not being a jerk to them and they're not being a jerk to him. And I want to tell you this. I want you to think about this too, but I'm going to get right into this though. They stopped off at the hometown of this transgender guy in Iowa. He's from a small town. They went to an Indiana Pacers game. Also, was in front row and was, everybody loves it because it's Will Ferrell. And a small town bar in Oklahoma, like I said. And then this from the Dallas Morning News. Will and Harper, Ferrell regrets visiting Texas steakhouse with transgender friend. They went to the place I've been to twice, the Big Texan in Amarillo. We can eat the 72-ounce steak, and it's free if you eat the whole plate with the stuff. And I love that place. It's an icon for our state. And Will Ferrell went in there wearing a Sherlock Holmes costume from his 2018 film Holmes and Watson, sits across the steel from the transgender guy that he's friends with on a stage. They eat, surrounded by cell phone cameras and stairs. I'm eating out of nervousness, says the transgender guy. As much as I've been in a fishbowl various times in my life, this trumps all of it. What begins as a comedic stunt soon to begin feel claustrophobic, Vanity Fair wrote about the meal. Houston Chronicle said it was awkward. The Big Texan didn't respond when the Dallas Morning News reached out. But they did post about Ferrell's visit on March of 2023 to social media, but didn't mention the transgender guy. Will and Harper, probably because they have the same stance as I do. I don't want to I will never disrespect anybody. Everybody is a child of God in God's eyes. Everybody is a valuable, respected person that should be loved, but it doesn't mean you have to agree with an agenda. And this is an agenda, and I suspect it's because the Big Texan doesn't support that agenda, but they're not going to say you can't come in here. The problem is they poked the bear. They went in there and they tried to get everybody in the Big Texan to bless their agenda, to publicly announce and support publicly on camera that they support the transgender agenda. You will be forced to care, as my friend Eric Erickson says, and you will be made to get down on your knee and bless it publicly. And if you don't, you will be hurt. You will be destroyed. You will be attacked. And that's what happened here. Listen. Will and Harper does not show how Steele's, the transgender guy, his toast to the crowd captured on social media videos. Ready? I'm from Iowa, he said publicly on camera, but I will raise a glass to your great state of Texas, which I think is great, right? The crowd, he told the crowd, I wish you guys would do more for trans rights in this state. It went dead, completely dead. You know why? Because I'd be cheering with him and not saying anything about the guy being transgender. I wouldn't care. But I wouldn't say anything at that point because I'm not going to be mean to him. But now he's trying to make you bless his lifestyle, his agenda. The crowd goes silent when he says, I wish you guys would do more for trans rights in this state, which is really shameful. And then he says, that's not how we would treat you up in Iowa. Although he's from Hollywood, but he's originally from Iowa. And then Ferrell says, cheers to Texas and trans rights, right? To which I would not cheer. I'd boo, actually, because that's an agenda. I would boo. I'd say boo. My wife would probably just say, shh, be quiet. Or actually, she might boo with me. I don't know. But the reason why is you're not booing people that are transgender or hurting them. That's where the truth is. The truth is, the falsehood is they say that if you don't get on your knees and worship and go, yes, 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 my faith is wrong. My God is wrong. I forsake my beliefs for you, Will Ferrell, and a man in a dress. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be rude to the guy. I'm not diminishing. I'm just telling you that's just how it is. And that's why they didn't cheer him. He tried to make them cheer this publicly. And there was a freaking Netflix camera there for a movie that would be viewed by probably 50 million people over the next several months. Shame on him for doing this. After they leave the restaurant, they receive a flurry of nasty comments on social media, and they read this on the film. One post calls Ferrell, this is funny, I don't agree with it, but it calls him a satanic Illuminati pedophile. Somebody believes that they got their nut job, but I think it's somebody trying to be funny. I wouldn't write that, but it's funny because this is ridiculous. Another warns him not to mess with Texas. Well, I would say don't come in here and tell me what to think. That's all. I wouldn't, and that's a very fair criticism. The room started to feel very wrong to me, the transgender friend of Will Ferrell said. It was like feeling my transness was on display. So you're a victim. When you shove it in my face, now you're the victim, my butt. I guess I was like my transness was on display. I was feeling like my transness was on display, I guess, and suddenly that sort of made me feel not great. A teary-eyed Ferrell replies, the saddest part for me is I just feel like I let you down in that moment. Because you should have yelled at those people. You should have cursed them and grabbed them and shoved them by the head down on the ground and say, you will worship this man. Because that's literally what he's trying to do. He was bullying with the camera and his celebrity. In an interview with the New York Times, Ferrell said he regrets stopping at the Texas restaurant. Here you go. Now the liberals are going to do death threats and cancel them. Nobody goes that. Most people that go to a place are not liberals. I mean, if they are, they don't care. If you do or don't go there because that's your business. But I will always go to the Big Texan. Hello. No, it's Big Tex. Howdy, folks. Who disarms you. Continuing on. I wish I'd walked in and said, no, this is going to be terrible. Let's just go. I was feeling that remorse and even guilt of not going there, guilt of going there. I didn't really have a grasp on how intense it was going to be and felt responsible for not properly vetting the situation we were putting ourselves into. That felt like it was going to be this benign place where you eat at a big steak at the amount of time and then you walk in and it's 1,000 people seated in this room and I was like, oh, why are we here? Dude, you did this to yourself. You did this to yourself. You could have said, I'm Will Ferrell. I want to raise a toast to my friend. That's all. You don't have to say, and when he said transgender rights, I'd be like, dude, don't do the transgender rights. Just raise a toast and see how everybody treats you. And he didn't. So he poked the bear, and it's Will Ferrell's fault. So here's my questions for you. And I really do want to hear from you, whether you've seen this or not. It doesn't matter. You don't have to see it if you don't want to. I don't care. Were Will Ferrell and his friend pushing their agenda in people's faces, trying to get them to publicly support their agenda, or, as I say, poking the bear? Did this film, if you have seen it, open up your eyes or help you change your vote? because he also was talking about, agendas for voting. It didn't open my eyes. It heartwarmed me when they weren't doing the agenda thing, because I don't care the guy's transgender. And how would you treat this transgender man? This is a big question I want to ask you. This is a real personal one. How would you treat this transgender man if he was at your local bar or restaurant with Will Ferrell? He went into a Oklahoma dive bar that had a Trump flag and a Confederate flag, and he said, "I'm afraid. I was very afraid." He said afterwards in the documentary. Come on, dude, quit your melodrama. Nothing bad happened in that one, by the way. Do movies and documentaries like this bother you when they get in there? Like HBO has another one called Stop the Steal. It's coincidentally at the front when you open up the HBO app now. Oh, you're going to change my vote. And then Reed Hastings, the CEO of Netflix, publicly supported Kamala, and now they lost at least 10 million subscribers overnight after that. I love that. Okay, so there's my questions. Were Will Ferrell and his friend pushing their agenda on people's faces, trying to get them to publicly support their agenda? Were they poking the bear? Is it their fault for this happening? I think it is. And I'm not excusing negative behavior at them, but dude, you poked the bear. And then did this film open up your eyes or change your voting habits after you saw it? And how would you treat this transgender man if he was at your local bar or restaurant with Will Ferrell? I'm going to tell you how I would have treated him, because that was throughout the movie, and I thought, I know how I'd treat him, and I'll tell you. And do movies and documentaries like this with an agenda bother you? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Lines wide open. I will tell you how I would treat this transgender man if he came into a bar with Will Ferrell or without Will Ferrell, or a restaurant I was at. Next, at 17 minutes after the hour on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Oh, this is embarrassing with this. Oh, gosh. Just bring that one down. Okay, Chris Clark Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Chime in right now. We got 4 lines open for you. That Will Ferrell and his transgender friend going all over the country in a documentary and going to all sorts of places, and then coming to Texas at the Big Texan, and then trying to get everybody to do a toast to transgender rights and to help fight for transgender rights in Texas. Will Ferrell and his buddy trying to force the whole Big Texan to support that and cheer out for it and clap for it. And on camera with Will Ferrell, I mean, it's obviously a big deal, and they're trying to get people to do that. And I think they poked the bear, and I think it's their fault. They got negative comments after they left on social media, and that's freedom of speech. And you asked for it. You went in and tried to force people to support an agenda that is not popular in many places of Texas, particularly in Amarillo or gosh, in any Christian conservative or even just conservative people or middle of the road people, nobody likes this crap being shoved in their face. And the problem is those guys are out of California and New York. It's Saturday Night Live writer, L.A. and all this stuff. So, dude, you would be worshipped. I mean, you're not popular if you support conservative views and you don't support the trans rights agenda in L.A. You're the one that'll be attacked there. And so you're coming in here and you're demanding they support you publicly on camera. It's ridiculous. So my questions are, were Will Ferrell and his friend pushing their agenda in people's faces, trying to get them publicly to support their agenda, a.k.a. poking the bear? If you did see this film on Netflix, did it open your eyes or help change your vote? And how would you treat this transgender man if he was at your local bar or restaurant with Will Ferrell? And do movies and documentaries with an agenda like this bother you? They bother me, but I don't watch them, so I'm fine. This one my wife had on, and I was doing the bills, so I'm like, whatever. I will say that how would I treat him? No different than anybody else. In fact, if anything, I would, if I had an interaction with him, I'd go out of my way to treat him with respect and kindness. And if it comes up, I'd say I don't support the agenda at all, but I have no problem with you, buddy. You know, that's it. And if you say, well, I wish you would support Chandra, I was like, dude, I don't, so not going to work. And I wouldn't get into it with him because I'm not going to win. I don't care. But when you try to force me, that's when you lose me big time, especially with a celebrity on camera. Hey, Sarah in White Lake, you're on WBAP. What do you got?
Yeah, I totally think that. Hi, how's it going?
Good.
I totally agree with you. They were definitely poking the bear. Texans are the most hospitable people on the planet, if you ask me, and they will give you the shirt off the back if you need it. So when you go into a bar and you immediately start saying, well, I don't think you're doing enough for trans rights or trans laws or anything like that, you're basically shaming a group of people who invited you into their restaurant to enjoy a meal, and you're shaming them. Of course the room went quiet. Of course
you know what, Sarah? This be like you hosting your family and they bring a guest who happens to be a transgender guy, and then they do a toast and they say, I'm from Iowa, but I'll raise a glass. Your friend's guest says that you invited your friend, and he brings a guest. He says, I'm from Iowa, but I will raise a glass to your great home of Sarah in White Lake. I wish you guys would do more for trans rights in this house. And then Will Ferrell says, you know, who you invited, says, cheers to Sarah's house and trans rights, right?
Yeah, it's just bizarre. It seems to me that they were doing it as a stunt in order to get this reaction. I don't think they were doing it for trans. I think they were doing it to show that how superior they are with this.
And they're trying to poke the bear and then say, these are haters. Look at these people.
Setup.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, because they let them in the bar. It's not like they were refused.
Yep. And then the comments weren't in person. They just didn't cheer or bless it or support it, and it was dead. Because I'm like, I mean, you and I would be sitting there at separate tables, and we both would be like, what would you have done with your family if they did that to you at the Big Texan? Like, what would you have done?
I would have been totally embarrassed and insulted. I would be like, oh my God, why does it have to be about that? Why can't it just be about two people eating steak?
Right. If they just said, hey, this is my friend from L.A., let's do a toast to us. Give a toast to my friend, you know. Would you?
Exactly.
Would you?
I would totally do that.
Yes, because I don't care if he's a transgender guy, but
I don't either. People are people. People are interesting.
So this loses
ridiculous.
This loses a lot of people, I think, with this agenda. And Will Ferrell is way left, and it's really embarrassing and off-putting. I appreciate your great call, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. 800-288-WBAP is our number. We'll talk to you more about this. And then the deadliest storm, one of the deadliest storms in history, 170 dead and counting, 100 still missing in North Carolina. Kamala still hasn't gone out there. I think she may have visited 6 days afterwards. George Bush did 4 days after he was attacked for 4 days. It's 6 days. All that is coming up next. How do you think Hurricane Helene recovery efforts could affect who wins this White House? Coming up next. I don't know what the song is, but I love it. It's weird. It's cool. Whoops. What is that? There we go. The audio just starts playing sometimes on my laptop because I got different things open. Stop. That's yours. That's yours or his. That's one of you two. That ain't me. Come on, baby. Push the right buttons. Okay. Yeah, that wasn't me. Sorry. I thought it was me. It wasn't. It was somebody else. Shame on you. Okay, Will Harper, Will and Harper, a Netflix documentary. He goes around with a transgender friend of his, and they shove it in the faces of people. Most people are fine and they don't do anything or say anything, but they really pushed the limit when they went into the Big Texan in Amarillo, where I've been to twice with my family. I love it. And the transgender friend of Will Ferrell, he says, I'm from Iowa. I will raise a glass to your great state of Texas, to the whole crowd at the Big Texan when they're on a stage. He says, I wish you guys would do more for trans rights in this state. It went dead, completely dead. The transgender guy says on the movie, that's not how we would treat you up in Iowa. He said, my gosh. And then Will Ferrell added, cheers to Texas and trans rights, right? I mean, how dare you? Shame on you for treating people like this, coming to their state and their restaurant and shaming us. Really, it's ridiculous. Shame on you. You poked the bear. It's your fault. And you deserve what you get. I mean, nobody deserves to mistreat you, but you deserve the criticism you get because you were wrong. Shame on you. So my questions for you are: Will Ferrell and his friend, were they pushing their agenda in people's faces, trying to get them publicly to support their agenda, aka poking the bear? If you saw this documentary on Netflix, did it open your eyes or help change your vote? And how would you treat this transgender man if he was at your local bar or restaurant with Will Ferrell or by himself? And I'd treat him the same way I treat anybody else. Actually, I'd treat him, even go out of my way for extra kindness and respect to let him know he's welcome. And then if he ever talked to me about who I am or what I believe, and I'd share it, and he'd be shocked. And I'd be like, hey, if it came up naturally, I'd be like, well, I don't support what your agenda is, but I absolutely support you as an individual, and I wish you the best of everything, and I have nothing but love and respect for you. But I don't support that, if he brought it up. And obviously with this, he did. And I probably would have booed it because, like, shut up. I wouldn't say this to him, but I'd be like, shut up. My boo would be saying, shut up and get out of here or sit down and eat your meal, but don't shove stuff in my face. I'm here to eat. I didn't pay to sit this and be shamed by you. Shame on you. Will Ferrell, you're worth more money than any of us will be worth in our life 5 times over. Shut up and pay for our bill if you're going to shame us, and then stop shaming us. It'd be like you inviting a friend to your dinner at home, your house, and he brings a transgender guy, which I wouldn't care, whatever. I wouldn't, support it, but I wouldn't say anything. I'd be like, well, would I treat him well? But, and then him toasting and saying, here's to trans rights. And then your friend, your guest standing up and saying that you invited, saying, cheers to your house and trans rights, right? Like, both of them shaming you. I'd be like, no, I don't support that. You're welcome to stay, but please don't put that agenda on us. I don't appreciate that, and I don't respect that. And if they kept going, I'd say, well, then you need to leave. I'm sorry to say you need to leave. And I wish you didn't, but I can't have you as a guest if you're going to mistreat me and my guests. All right, what do you think on that? 800-288-WBAP is our number. We got 3 lines open, 800-288-9227. And you didn't have to see the movie to have an opinion, but if you did, that'd be interesting, too, to tell me what you thought. 800-288-WBAP. First, we'll go to Matthew in, I can't see, there's too many words you wrote here in the list, dude. Okay, Denton. Matthew and Denton. Hello, you're on WBAP. What's up?
Good evening.
Evening.
First of all, I'd never even heard of the documentary until I heard you tonight.
You'll see it on Netflix. You know how they put stuff at the top, for you to see? Yeah, you'll see it.
Yeah, but, I might see it. If it's not what I'm looking for, anyway, it does not matter.
I would have seen it right away and be like, I'm not watching. Yeah. My wife was watching. I was doing the bills, and I wanted to stay by her, so I'm like, whatever.
And I have absolutely, watched many of them program, kind of just by osmosis because you're in the room,
Yes. A lot of crap because your wife watches a lot of crap like mine, right?
A lot of wives shows.
Yeah, girly crap
of locations,
Yeah.
But I have to say, I have a trans child. My oldest is a biological female, identifies as a male. I love my child. Do I support trans rights? Well, I don't unsupport them, but I don't believe in it. But much like you said, all children of God have a right to be respected and loved.
Yeah.
I don't have to. I do plenty of things in my life that other people would disagree with. I'm not perfect. I'm fallible. I sin. And for somebody to wonder if I would be disrespectful to someone because of how they choose to identify or dress. I mean, I look at some of the outfits that were worn back in the 70s. Look at what Michael Irvin wore to court years ago. Mm-hmm. I mean, we can't judge people by what they wear. And if, I started out in cosplay, I didn't care. I had fun. But, at the end of the day, child still understands who Jesus is, knows that Jesus is Lord and Savior, and knows that her mother and I love her.
That's exactly what I tell friends and listeners. If you have a situation where your child suddenly says, I'm a pan or whatever this or trans or whatever. For me personally, I'm not gonna, I'll tell you what I would do if you ask me. And it is to say, well, we don't agree with that, but I still love you. And I wouldn't call my daughter a man's name or he, him, or all that stuff. And it wouldn't be out of disrespect, but I'm not going to do that. And that's kind of what it would be, but it would be respectful. And you never stop loving your child. But you can't support that lifestyle. And I'd be like, I'm sorry. I try to do my best to, compromise on, if you're a boy, you're not going to wear a dress and stuff. But if you want to wear something a little this or that, that's not over the top, then, but I wouldn't allow my son to wear dresses or certain things. When they're 18 or older, it's a little bit harder, but we have an 18-year-old and sometimes she tries to dress a little too, plunge line down a little too low. My wife is good about doing that. I'll say some things that are nicer, but as a dad, you and I have learned you got to be sensitive because the girl freaks out. They start crying and you're not even raising your voice. Like, what the heck? At least that's my experience. But my wife is good about being stern in a loving way. And she curbs my daughter fairly well. So it's difficult. Do you call your son, or is it your son that says he's a girl or a daughter that says...
My daughter says she's a son.
Okay, do you call her him?
No.
I'm sorry, what?
Absolutely not.
Good. But you're respectful and you love her.
Yes.
Good.
But let me tell you the beauty about. I mean, this child, when sits down with me, says, "I'm going to tell you something I know you don't agree with." I mean, she knows my feelings. She knows my stance in life.
But you listen to her and you love her, and you don't tell her she's going to hell for being this or all this. Others you don't condemn her, which is very important. Good job, Dad. Hey, if Will Ferrell and this trans guy did a toast and said with cameras on you and said, "I'm from Iowa. I raise a glass to your great state of Texas. I wish you guys would do more for trans rights in the state." Trans rights in the state. That's not how we treat you in Iowa when nobody says anything. And then Will Ferrell goes, "Cheers to trans in Texas," right? What would your response be? Aren't they poking the bear?
I'll go a step further. They're being hypocrites because unfortunately so many on the left, and Will Ferrell is one of them, claim that they're the compassionate ones. They're the ones that care, but yet they'll walk into somewhere trying to pick a fight.
Yes. What if you and I, Matthew and Chris, go to L.A. and we show up at a place where he's eating, we can somehow miraculously afford to eat, a table or two from them. We do a toast, get the whole captivation of the place. We got cameras, and we say we want to raise a toast to standing up against the transgender agenda, and they boo us probably and maybe throw something at us or yell at us, tell us get out of there, and we go, "That's not how we treat you over in Texas." And then cheers to LA and standing up to against the transgender, right? What if we did that to them? What do you think they'd say? What would they do?
We're hate mongers. We're really what we are is we're ignorant because we don't see it their way.
Would they yell at us, scream at us, and throw stuff at us?
Absolutely.
And tell us to get out of there now and kick us out? Will the restaurant kick us out?
Oh, there's no question.
So we're the ones that are a victim in this, aren't we? Not them.
Again, we're just respectful, right-leaning Christian conservatives that don't want to butt our nose into anybody else's business. Please don't butt your business into ours.
Great call, Matthew. Thank you. Keep it up. Look forward to talking to you again. Brooke and Frisco, real quickly. Go ahead.
Hey, I watched the document a couple of days ago.
Oh, here we go. Yeah. Oh, you and me are reviewing Siskel and Ebert. Yeah. Siskelette and Ebert.
Yeah, I just watched it because I'm like, okay, what is this? I usually don't watch stuff like that, but I was like, Will Ferrell, and I'm like, okay, let me see what this is about. And to me, my take on it was his friend is just trying to learn how to feel comfortable with himself. I don't agree with the life that somebody changing their sex. I think whatever they're born as, that's what they are.
Right.
And you can't change your chromosomes. You can change the outside, but you can't change the inside no matter what.
Correct.
But the whole thing was about him trying to learn how to feel more comfortable with himself. and Will going around with him. And it seemed to me at times, honestly, Will was a little embarrassed, but he tried not to show that. And I don't think he was being rude when they were in Texas. Actually, they shouldn't have pushed it on people. I don't think they realized. They're so used to being in California where people push that all the time. And I think they were a little bit shocked at the reaction.
But don't you think it's rude to go in as a guest into a town, into a state, into a place, and say, I wish you guys, we raise a glass to your great state. I wish you guys do more for trans right in this state. And then the place went dead. And then he says, that's not how we would treat you. That's not how we would treat you in Iowa, not L.A. And then Ferrell says, cheers to Texas and trans rights. So, right, he says. So, Brooke, it's not going in there and asking. It's telling you, right? And there's a camera and an A-list celebrity. There's a camera and an A-list. Yeah, and there's a camera and an A-list celebrity saying, right? So that's bullying, isn't it? Poking the bear and bullying?
Kind of. I think they were, and really, I think they were naive. That's what I think the word I would use, because Will kind of cried when they went outside. No. I don't think he expected that reaction.
Do you think that if we went into their restaurant,
do that?
If we went into their restaurant,
not saying they should do that.
Yeah, exactly. Brooke, if you and I went into their restaurant and said this instead, said cheers to Texas and standing up to trans agenda, wouldn't that be okay? Would they mistreat us?
They don't need to push that on anybody. It's ridiculous.
So would it be wrong for us to do that?
The agenda is ridiculous.
Right. Yes. Would it be wrong for us to do it in L.A.?
Yes.
Well, okay. So then it's wrong for them to do it here.
Yeah.
Cool.
Exactly. It's wrong for them to do it anywhere. They shouldn't be pushing the agenda on anybody.
Right on. Did this change your mind or open your mind up to this agenda?
No.
Did it turn you off from Will Ferrell?
I don't know. I just think Will is part of that. They're all screwed up, in my opinion. You know.
Yep.
It's like none of them are right. You know.
I agree. So, thank you for your call.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. Except for Dennis Quaid and Kevin Costner and a few others. And what's his name? Gibson. What's his name? Gibson. Mel Gibson. All right, Tim Allen, Okay, Mike in Frisco. I'm big in Frisco tonight. Mike in Frisco, you are next, sir, right out of the box. Oh, he has to deal with people like Will Ferrell. Oh, this is great. You're next, brother. Don't go anywhere. That's coming up next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. 800-288 WBAP is our number. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. 800-288 WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Well, Will Ferrell and his friend Harper, his transgender guy, former head writer at SNL, go all over the country, a documentary on transgender rights and stuff like that. And, it's homey and cutesy where it didn't bother me, but the agenda did. And the worst part is what's getting a lot of press right now, including the Dallas Morning News today and Variety Magazine and Daily Mail. Netflix fans divided over Will Ferrell documentary that he purposefully released before the election, of course. But they went into the Big Texan. Many of us have been there. It's an awesome place in Amarillo, and I've been there twice, I'm proud to say. And he goes in there with his transgender friend, and of course they have cameras rolling, and he's on the big stage there. And his friend who's transgender, Harper, says, I'm from Iowa, but I will raise a glass to your great state of Texas. I wish you guys would do more for trans rights in this state. And then, of course, the crowd went dead, completely dead. I mean, can you imagine spending $150 on a meal or $200 with your family, and this guy's doing this crap? And then he says, that's not how we would treat you up in Iowa. And then Will Ferrell said, cheers to Texas and trans rights, right? I mean, come on. What are you doing? They poked the bear. Mike in Frisco, isn't this their fault for shoving their agenda in people's faces? 800-288-WBAP. Let's go to Mike in Frisco. WBAP, hello.
Thank you for having me on.
You're welcome.
I used to be part of an organization called Protest Warrior. Have you ever heard of them?
No.
Protest Warrior was a group of conservative people that would go out and protest the leftists. and they couldn't stand it. We would show up with signs wherever they were at. They used to protest Halliburton. They used to protest downtown at the Dallas Morning News, and we would show up with signs and we would protest them. And one thing I learned out of all that was the left can't stand anybody that disagrees with them and protests them. They are so used to be able to getting everything their way that when somebody actually shows up and asks them questions and gets into their face, they can't stand it. And that's what I learned. The left is really basically cowards. And if I was sitting there in a restaurant with my family and Will Ferrell walked in and started doing that, I would do one thing, well, two things.
Quickly, we got to go. Go, quickly.
I would ask somebody to film this, and then I would walk over to Will Ferrell, and I would stick my microphone in his face and says, what makes you so superior and so virtuous to walk into a restaurant and start dictating to people about how we're supposed to live our life? And I would stick the microphone in his face, and he wouldn't answer it.
Well,
and then I would ask it again, and I would stick the microphone right back into his face, and then he would try to avoid the subject and go into some other direction, and then I would ask the exact same question.
All right, we got to go.
Stick the microphone right back into his face.
Okay, thank you. I think instead of saying you would stick the microphone, you could ask him a question and put a microphone there, but it'll be interesting to see what happened. I think you just need to be respectful and kind and don't shove it in his face. All right, well, coming up next in the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3, we're going to do all the recap on the debate. Has some great conversation. Walt says he's friends with school shooters and then was asked about it today and doubled down on it. And all the lies that they tried to fact check on Vance were actually right. Vance was right. I've got 3 or 4 of them proven. Coming up next, Chris Crock Show, 11:03 WBAP.